Sir.
Okay, welcome to the Planning Commission meeting. And let's begin with Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if we can start with roll call, starting to my left, if you could just state your name.
David Mills here.
Fred Cuthbertson, present.
Tim Eastridge here.
Torin Nielsen here.
John Gredanis here.
Mark Murray here.
Okay, thank you, Mark. All right. Let's review the minutes from April 8th. Is it really April 8th? Yeah, we had a work session.
Yeah, we did that before.
You have two sets of minutes. April and May.
I've read a lot of these. I read through the minutes and I have some questions about them. Just not the fact of spelling or anything, but just the fact that how do we know things have gotten done? That's been questioned here.
Which items are you referring to?
Well, clarification.
Which was this one?
This was
Was it April or was it the May 6th?
probably May 6th.
Second page, the middle paragraph.
The only reason I question some of this is because what's taken place in the past month or so. So it was really nice to have these forwarded, all this stuff forwarded to us so we could read it today. Instead of come down here and get to read it while we're sitting here for 5
Right.
minutes.
Agreed.
So.
Yep.
But there's also some questions about Connex boxes being used for storage.
Yeah, and I wish Michael was here because he could actually respond to that.
Well, we actually had some stuff we talked about years earlier about storage because people wanted to use those things for in their lots for possible, makeshift garage or something like that, or possibly making a little mini house out of it. But like it's mentioned in here, there's not much placed in here, but then you start using them down at like mini storage.
Well, and that was a particular situation where the Connex boxes were something that they wanted to add to that property. And I think in the end, the fire department said no to that. But Michael, if he was here, he could answer that. Unfortunately, we don't have him tonight.
I think the Connex boxes, when we referenced them earlier, was in residential neighborhoods and not on commercial property. I think that was where as I recall, that was the question.
Sounds familiar.
It's been, I don't know, 8-10 years ago. I don't remember exactly.
Right, but if you're gonna start putting those on places, right next to the highway, which we have an overlay now. And we expect to have some kind of a view or a look to all this stuff. If we're gonna start allowing this stuff, we gotta have some kind of verbiage.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with you.
And then how are these taxed?
Mhm.
Are they still something that's removable?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I wish Michael was here. He could probably talk to that a little bit more than I could, certainly. He has a lot more experience, especially in Philomath, because he's a planner there. And then he's done some work in Adair Village as well.
My thing is, once we approve these, do we just forget about what's basically in these?
Well, my impression is that in the past, we have ongoing items on our agenda list where we get updates. So these minutes are a good representation of the dialogue that took place, and they usually are, each one of those cases, the last action, required was for Michael, the planner, to follow up and learn more and then report back. So I think it's just a matter of those continuing to, I think your point is just worrying that who is responsible for making sure they don't fall off of the edge of the earth, and that we're keeping a tally on what our resolutions are. I think that's pretty valid. There's not, in the past, we relied on staff to manage all of that.
Nope, I agree with you guys completely. Hopefully we can address that. We've got the planner, of course, Michael Bidwell. We've also just extended an offer to a administrative assistant, someone new in the office who has a background in city recording, so that she can help us with that too. So between Michael, her, and we're also going to be interviewing for a new city administrator, hopefully we can get our ducks in a row and be able to circle back on some of these things. I know it's been kind of haphazard and I apologize. Still trying to keep it together the best we can. But I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Eastridge.
Yeah, I share his concern. I mean, it's great to get those people in those positions, but we had people in those positions before and we still failed. So
Right,
what are we doing to put safeguards in place that we don't
right.
end up in the same boat we are just because there's different personnel? That's my concern. I mean, it's maybe not.
Well, there has to,
That's my concern.
well, no, and those are valid concerns, and we need
And
to
Mark's
have,
gonna have to address some of this stuff just in his work. So if we can take some load off him, that'll help too.
I think the mayor did a pretty good job a couple sessions ago explaining how right now we have a lot of confusion. This body passed a lot of what we thought were decisions or recommendations, and that required a final process of filing those with the county or the state before they could be used in the planning process. And I think what Mike was finding out, those steps weren't taken, which has created a lot of confusion about how do we move forward on certain projects. So at some point, we have to revisit some of those decisions that we thought were made.
Yes.
and Make that final step to actually file it, so we can start relying on.
Yeah, things of that nature be, look back on the minutes from those meetings and find out what the decisions were and take just time out of it.
Yeah, they sort of have to, yeah, and that's what I've been trying to talk to Michael. We've been talking about this the last couple of weeks, about how do we get a baseline that we can move forward legally and not leave people stranded, and getting a few staff on board to help us with that process can be important, I think.
Well, there's been talk about updating the plan, the comprehensive plan.
Yep.
You know, and I haven't heard anything about that for 3 or 4 months.
It seems to me, and something we haven't had in the past that would be really useful would be just like a single live document that had just the list of all of our open issues. It's basically just
Resolution.
a status list that just shows if it has been resolved, what
Well, that's actually a really good idea, because there's times when, some of us can't make meetings and
having
You're
that,
out of the
just
loop.
having a view.
Yeah.
Would be really helpful. And
I
then
think
you
as
could
long as
highlight who's the
it's-
next person to work on it.
I think as long as it's viewable, as long as it's not edible, or you can make
Sure.
comments on it, I think it's okay to do that. So,
Yeah, and to your point, if it followed every issue through the process,
Just
clear when
just
it
a-
was recorded and what it was and who recorded it.
Just like a
Yeah.
table, just a
Yeah.
simple table, I think is all it's really.
Well, it sounds
required.
like an excellent project for the next city administrator.
There you go. Yeah,
So-
that needs to be.
I think part of this too is there's going to need to be a conversation and strategy on how to move forward so we can handle our planning, decisions moving forward. So we relied on someone to take care of that, and it wasn't taken care of. So we need to circle the wagons, and we need to figure out how we're going to move forward. So yeah, I think this is all valid, and we do need to
That's
figure
a
out what
really-
that strategy
really good
is.
idea.
That's a great idea.
One thing that, I mean, I noticed that Michael had kind of a working document already that he was referring to.
Yeah, it was a spreadsheet that I started and then he's just kind of worked off of it and built onto it. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's definitely working with something.
I wonder if it's possible to just abstract something from that.
It's
um,
possible, yeah.
In a separate sheet.
Yeah.
That's just,
Mhm.
public record kind of stuff. It can't be,
Yeah.
what I understood from that previous meeting, we can't all, there's
Nobody
elements,
can have information that everybody else doesn't have.
inside info.
Right, we can't go down to City Hall and meet with Michael
Well, that
individually.
was
Yeah.
addressed in there
We
too.
can't go meet
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
citizens or
Yeah.
anybody individually. We have to all have the same equal information. So that shared document or
Mhm. Has to
would
be
transparent.
public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion on either one of these minutes?
I make a motion, we accept, what is there, June and May,
Or April and
April and May.
April and May? I make a motion, we accept April and May's minutes as read.
Second that.
We have a first and second. Let's go ahead and, any discussion? I think we discussed it. Let's go ahead and vote. My left,
Aye.
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 We have unanimous, so. I'll sign those and get this to you, Mayor.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, now, for public comments, is there anybody that would like to make public comment? Limit it to three minutes. Anybody want to step up and make a comment? All right. Mayor,
Yeah, that must be me. Yeah.
you're up.
Okay, so I just thought I'd give a brief update. It's mostly just kind of general update. So I mentioned that we extended an offer to someone to work in the office as an administrative assistant. We had lost Gabi about a month and a half ago or so. So we now we have extended an offer. She has accepted and she'll be starting on Monday. So that will give some relief in the office and help poor Dawn out, who's been a one-woman show for a bit now. So very excited about that.
Give us any background or resume on her at all?
So she's got about 10 years of government administrative experience. She's worked for the city of Chiloquin, the city of Springfield, Lane County, Head Start of Lane County. Yeah, she's about 10 years worth in there. She's got administrative, she's got city recorder experience in there too, which we need.
That's good.
So yeah, we're really, really excited. When I talked to her today, she was very enthusiastic about working for the city. So super excited about that. And then we are starting city administrator interviews. I think the first one is towards the end of this week. And we've got about 6 or 7 candidates that we're going to be interviewing. There could be a couple rounds on this. It depends on who floats to the top, but there are several of us that are going to be interviewing. So including myself, Don, Mark, and a couple of the city councilors as well. So hopefully, I would love it if we could have a decision by the end of this month. That might be optimistic. We'll see. But that's what I'd like to have happen. So there's that. And there's a lot going on and we're trying to just keep it moving forward the best we can at City Hall. Mark and Don and Chuck, they're all doing a great job. Very thankful for all of them. And
Thank you, Mark.
we just keep going forward. So that's about all I have for right now.
Okay, well, I noticed on this new business, there's a discussion of a possible moratorium. Can you go into that at all?
So Mr. Schultz is here and I'm gonna have him discuss that topic with us if he doesn't mind. Oh, come on, you knew.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chuck. I am the Public Works Director for the city of Harrisburg. I contract out to small cities who can't afford somebody like me to work on their water and wastewater facilities when they have issues. I used to be a resident of Monroe, so I have a lot of vested interest in this. I was on the budget committee for years. And so I try real hard not to get negative. But recently, in the last few months, with what's transpired, I am pretty frustrated with previous employees and not doing their job and telling me they were doing their job. So we started looking further into some of the things going on that affects the Planning Commission, like development within town and other things. And the process that has previously been done has not followed the OARs and creates an issue because we have water plant issues. Everybody knows we have water plant issues. We have lead and copper issues at the water plant, which most every city does in one form or another because they continue to lower the maximum contaminant level of lead and copper in drinking water. And treatment plants have a hard time keeping up with it. They're trying to get to this zero footprint that doesn't really exist when you have, lead in old homes and copper service lines and other things. Our concern on the water side more so is what's called DPDs. So it's a disinfection byproduct. So to keep it short, what happens is the state mandates and EPA mandates that you must have a traceable amount of chlorine in the distribution system at any house all the time. So when you add chlorine to water that has high organics, and you pull out of a river that's very turbid, that's very dark and ugly, there's a lot of organics in there. The chlorine mixes with the organics to create the trihalmethanes, which we have violated. It also mixes with pipe and other natural minerals that are in the water to create it, what's called haloacidic acids, which we have also violated. So it raises red flags, especially as I started looking at more and more things that we started looking into over the last few months, that when you start adding homes and the water plant's already under a direct order to fix this from Oregon Health Authority, and then they never see the plans for what's happening for their approval or denial, because you must get it when you add on to your water system in any way. The state has to review those plans, engineers, the compliance officers, regulators, they all go through and have to see those. They're going to see that Monroe is under these issues and have had bilateral agreements with the state to fix it. And those are not done. And the plant has not been upgraded, and we're still producing those. They're going to deny us at the plants, most likely. I've seen it before, and what they will say is you cannot continue to allow people to come into town and put them at risk of ingesting these problems. So that's on the water side. That's one of our big issues right there, is we need the city council and the planning commission, the new hires that come in, really, I think that, and a little bit was just mentioned, and I'm pretty sure Dan, the council understand this, that because we've talked a little bit about it, is when the new administrator comes on, a list of priorities needs to be given right from the start, that this is what you need. We got all kinds of stuff, but these are the priorities. The town wants development, the town wants to grow, the town wants to do what's best for the people in town, but more so, they need to be safe. We got to produce safe water. We're meeting most of the requirements, and there's not bacteria in the water, and it's not gonna harm you that way. Long-term effects, just like is what's being produced, that could be for including microplastics and things. It's along those same lines. The more you drink and continue to drink over long periods of time is really bad. So as we went into this, just recently in the last couple months, we started looking more at the wastewater side to make sure that it is okay. And we're kind of looking at the treatment plants. We pulled out the master plan from 2015, 2016 that brought up a whole lot of red flags. While the ponds and treatment plant there is sized appropriately for the town and for the future for at least the next 10 years with development. The lift station, 99.9% of all the sewage in Monroe is on this side of the river and goes to the lift station with the treatment plant on the other side of the river. In the master plan, it shows that the pipes, the influent pipes from the collection system are at 10 years ago, 70, 80, and 90% capacity. So that's a red flag right there going, whoa, those are already up there. What leads to this is, homes, more development, and I&I. So I&I is, to break it down, is inflow and infiltration into the sewer lines. Have an old system in a lot of areas of town. Before about the 1970s, when they put pipes together, it was assumed by every city and everybody doing this that the pipes had to be watertight to keep the sewage from leaking out. Until about the 80s and 90s, that's when they realized that the pipe joints needed to be airtight because roots work into those joints. Just because they're watertight, don't stop the roots. And the roots get in there and break those pipes away. As those pipes break away, they create large holes. They have groundwater in the old section of town. That groundwater then flows into the sewage line, which adds to what the station is trying to pump over to the treatment plant. And so that's your infiltration. It's infiltrating into the sewer lines, which is adding extra flow. Then you have inflow. Back before the 70s, the common practice was the solution to pollution was dilution. So a lot of places had combined systems. Treating wastewater still is relatively new. It's been around, really about 70 years for the most cities. Before that, it was, we're just going to dilute it. It's going to go, it's going to end up in the ocean and magically disappear. So the inflow is houses that have storm drains or roof vents, or outside drain tiles that are tied into the sewage pipes and not into a storm system because you have a limited storm system here. So that was probably a very standard practice. So there are maintenance things that can be done, and we got some planned for later this year to try to identify those so we can remove those from the system, because that's not allowed anymore to have it that way. Not to mention systems aren't designed for it. In continuing to look at the wastewater side and this lift station, we found another issue that was mentioned a bit in the master plan, and started running and looking at numbers. From the lift station, there is a 6-inch pipe that goes underneath the river to the treatment plant. So each pump in that station, when it was brand new, could pump about 680 gallons a minute. If the pump curve was perfect from the day it was put in and everything was new and there wasn't a bend in the line and pipe friction magically disappeared, even though it's everywhere, it's going to be there. The best they could do was 680 gallons a minute. And you have to design it for one pump. It's made to run on this pump and then run on this pump. Or if this pump fails, you have a backup. They're not designed to run with both pumps running. A 6-inch line, maximum you can pump through a 6-inch line is 600 gallons a minute. So you have a pump that can out pump the line going across the river. Based on what's called a PIF, or a peak indicating factor, of in the winter, and you have this I&I, you have this inflow, you have the sewage, you have the rain that's making its way into the system. The master plan 10 years ago had that peak instantaneous flow that would be at that lift station at a little over 1,200 gallons a minute. You can't pump that. So continuing to add on development without that pump station discharge line and the lines around it, and even the pump station, probably the pumps themselves being upgraded. We've got lucky in the last couple of years that we've had a real good snowpack with less rainfall. But at some point, that's going to start dumping sewage right into the long ton. There's no way around it. It won't be able to get rid of it. It'll start backing up in the system when it can't keep up. And even if both pumps are running, it still can't do more than 600 gallons a minute. You can't fit it through that pipe. So it's going to back up. Pumps are going to sit there, get hot and not do good on the pumps. And eventually the sewage is going to start flowing out of a manhole. And most likely it'll be along 99. So then it'll run down into a storm drain grate and right back into the river. You have a whole new problem in Harrisburg, when Monroe, when that starts happening. So these are the issues that have recently came up. And that's why I've recommended, and that's all I don't work for the city of Monroe, they don't pay my salary, that a moratorium is held and put on the water and sewer system until the lift station's fixed and the issues at the water plant are fixed, which they're already mandated to do. It hasn't been mandated at the lift station yet, which is good for a lot of reasons. I don't want to, you can what if a lot of scenarios, but I wouldn't want to do that here.
Can I? interrupt?
Absolutely.
So you were talking about the solution for the water issues have to do with, you say, are resting in the hands of the new administrator. And I imagine that they're helping to kind of manage a process, but maybe you could go into greater detail as to what kind of timeline we're talking about, or what the critical milestones we're going to have to move through to actually solve that.
Right. So right now, last month's city council meeting, was it last month? The last one? Okay.
Yeah, whatever.
It's just been,
I think we did a special.
oh yeah. We discussed, based on a feasibility study, of either modifying the existing plant and adding other pieces so it can treat this out. But the base of your plant is still 20 years old. They're only designed for about 30 years. Or going after a new treatment plant at the same site and changing the style of it. The current treatment plant is a membrane system, which is it takes a lot of operator time to operate one. It was when I first saw it, I found it very odd that a small town would have one of these, because it takes a lot to keep it going.
Good salesman.
Yes, probably. So switching it to a more mixed media, conventional treatment plant that would require, 30 minutes or 45 minutes of an operator a day to do the test and make sure everything's still operating or any maintenance. And then they get out in the field rather than somebody who's there 4 or 6 hours a day. When you don't have staff for somebody to be there that long. So that's kind of
So
what.
there's two different paths that was
There is.
presented, and there isn't a decision yet on that path. those two
Correct.
paths. I see.
And both paths cost millions.
Mhm.
So I think your initial comment of being told things that weren't actually happening. This group has been told for a year or so that.
Longer than that.
There were
Longer
two
than that.
grants that were pending, one for 3.2 and one for 1 something million, that would address a water treatment plant, and that Silver West was working on that and had a plan. But we talked a little earlier about this, but what you've discovered is that the Silver West is not really engaged in the planning process or has anything that they put together. And those grants, and this might be a secret, those grants are just not there anymore.
3.2, I think that never happened. The 1.3 did happen. And I've been in contact with Representative Butler's office.
Okay.
We still have it. They're trying to save it so it'll circle back around and still be available for us for another fiscal year. So they're working on that. They're going to let me know. They're pretty sure we still have it, but they put it in some sort of process and they vote I don't have the microphone on, sorry. They put it through some sort of process and vote. It's part of some legislation that carries over to the next fiscal year. So they're trying to determine if that's the case with our bill and our money. So I'm just waiting to hear back. So I think we still have that, but the 3.2 never happened.
Okay.
That was a pipe dream,
And the
unfortunately.
planning design work for a new water treatment plant has not happened. Is that?
No, there's been some feasibility studies. And
So there's no documentation regarding these two different options?
there is, it's
There
the
is?
feasibility
Oh, okay.
study that kind of looked at it. Another one of the issues that happened in this process, which needs to be put back on the city administrator's list, is in the last couple of years, the city allowed the contract with the city engineer to expire. So this work that was being done is questionable under Oregon bid law of how you picked that contractor or
Right.
Civil West or this one to do these studies that probably should went out for an actual contract bid. Or to your city engineer, but since that contract expired,
Yeah, so we're having to start all over again.
yes.
So working with the city attorney on that.
So we need to get a city engineer in first.
Record.
So you have the engineer of record who can do a lot of things, especially with some of these repairs that need out here. Again, we're adding to the water system. We can't do that without plan review from Oregon Health, but if you have a city engineer, you can do single family homes and things like that get added to the system. So when I mentioned the city council, and I mentioned, I think the moratorium on the water and sewer, new construction would be the way to go. Or new, more or less new infrastructure. You can't add new infrastructure to the water, can't add new to the wastewater. Which would allow, because you still have so much that could be adding to the wastewater plant just on pieces of land in town if somebody decides to put a home in on their spare piece of property. So you've already put that infrastructure in front of them. That green light's already been there for them to do it. So if they decide to do it, you're gonna have a hell of a time trying to stop
Yeah,
them.
so when we talk about future development, I mean, the question got brought up by all of us time and time again that we were told the city has a capacity of about 52 more homes roughly. Is that what I'm remembering? And then
Yeah.
the lagoon had like 1,200
Yeah,
capacity.
we were told there was no problem at all on the waste side. We
We-
never, ever had to worry about it.
We brought that up multiple times. We mulled it over.
And then also on the water.
On the water
yeah,
side,
was just adding
the
shifts.
52
Yeah.
homes was just with one person, 40 hours a week. We could make
More
all the
water.
water in the world we wanted to if we added
And then it was
shifts.
just
That
adding
was what we've
shifts.
been told over and over and
That
over.
we were added what?
Added more shifts.
Operator shift work.
Oh, yeah, if you wanted to add another person who was sitting at the plant, you could make more water.
But to your point,
There's another issue that
there's
we
a
have.
safety issue.
Yeah.
It
Yes,
hasn't been addressed.
absolutely. And 52 homes, that's not what it calculates out to. The stamped engineering document does not
And we were told,
calculate
I
that.
think that was a conservative, is, probably 70 or so. And then it was like, yeah, safely 52 or
The
so.
lagoons can handle quite a bit.
Right.
They're
Lagoons-
designed out that third pond was added back when, which gives a more capacity.
But it's the infrastructure getting it there.
The
Right.
lift station is the whole issue.
Right. So, and currently, and I don't know who would throw their neck and everything they own under the bus. But as of August 2024, if you do any development of more than 3 homes, you must do a capacity statement form from the municipality stating what your current flows are, what your capacity is, that you guarantee that that's going to be done, or that you can handle it, and you sign it
And where does that go?
to DEQ.
To DEQ.
And that's on the wastewater side.
That's-
And I damn sure won't sign it. And there's no way.
No,
Right.
not at this point.
Yeah.
So what is the solution for the lift station? What size pipe? Is it a matter of putting another pipe under the river and a different size pump? And in addition to getting rid of the inflow issues?
There's,
What would be the best bang for the buck and as far as
Because of the sensitivity of the river and trying to put a pipe underneath there creates all kinds of issues. I think that the most realistic and cost-effective, there's a lot of different solutions. Let me back up. You could put in another lift station, another location, tie in part of the flow, put in another
Just make another
line
pipe.
across the
Yeah,
bridge.
An
and-
additional pipe. Yeah.
Right. Whatever, whichever way you want to pull it. I think because of the sensitivity of the water and digging anywhere
Near the river.
near the river, especially with the 408 rules and everything else that would go along with that, I think you could pipe burst and bore a pipe in the current existing pipe and put in I wouldn't put in an 8-inch. An 8-inch would handle it. You increase your potential flow by more than 4 times, just going from a 6 to an 8-inch. However,
Why stop there?
Yeah, exactly.
plan for the future. Put in a 10-inch, run it across there, fix the pipes right near it there. They could be upsized to hold more storage capacity there. Plus, being able to pump through that 6-inch line, even with the influent pipes being smaller, they wouldn't be backing up because the pumps could actually pump it through the other line. So their capacity would actually look better as how much was there.
Then during that process, obviously you pipe burst that and pull a new line across, takes time. And that's the only way to get wastewater to the other side of the river. What happens?
Correct. It would,
Have to
it-
truck it, load it or truck it around?
yeah, you could run it 3,000 gallons in a tanker around during the day. We've had to do that in other locations before. The pipe bursting could be done in a day.
Depending, yeah.
You know,
yeah,
if it's pre-dug
yeah.
on your receiving holes and everything else, and it's prepared, and they're using an HDPE, you know,
Exactly.
it should be able to, you know, early morning.
So is
Go.
there, since that's an existing line, but yet given the net, like you said, the sensitivity, can they just, the city hire a contractor, just do that? Or is there DEQ approval, Corps of Engineers? all that
Anything,
Red tape. type
and
stuff?
that's where we're running into a lot of issues is it wasn't being followed through by the previous administration or 2 or maybe 3.
Mhm.
Is any mainline changes to your system. If you are adding to your system, it goes to the state for approval. The city, the taxpayers own the system.
Yeah.
They own the car. I'm the only one with a license to drive it. And the state's the officials who are gonna, you know, red flag you on the track if something's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so
Can I ask? a quick question?
absolutely.
So there was also talk in a feasibility study about a pedestrian bridge that would carry water utilities across right by that lift station.
I've heard that rumor.
Is that, but I'm just curious about the kind of cost effectiveness of that. It's similar to what you were describing in terms of creating an additional line essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard the rumor. I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
Yes, that would be a way to increase that capacity over to the other side of the river.
And without changing essentially the current you would still be able to keep working and you could just basically add on.
I see what that is, just time.
So a grant was written, initial grant was written for a 10-inch wastewater plant, or 10-inch wastewater pipe and an 8-inch water pipe to be put on that bridge. Initial design was done, initial structure was designed. But the grant, again, that was one of those grants that was submitted, but not the final paper was submitted. So that could have been a solution that would have come around about the same time next summer.
Possibly.
But now we'd have to reapply for that grant next summer.
I'm not sure what the water line would do on that bridge and where to be going.
All I ever heard about was the sewer.
Well, yeah, the proposal was to reroute the water line from water treatment plant from the bridge over to the.
So when that treatment plant was built, a new line was put in,
It was.
a direct line from there all the way to the tank.
Mhm.
So adding another water line was like a bridge to nowhere.
Kind of a
Right
waste
on
of
that.
money, actually.
I think,
Kind of a waste of.
I think it was
funds, actually.
supply to the city from the water treatment plant was.
What's
the
that?
idea. Supply to the city from the water treatment plant was the idea.
Yeah, but it goes to the tank first. It has
Yeah.
To go to the reservoir, then down gravity feeds out from that. So,
So, but yeah, I will, it was kind of a non-existent project at the moment, but yeah, there's been talk about it. but-
Could be an option. It had been proposed as an option.
yeah, but it sounds like, I guess my question is timing. Sounds like these are some pretty grave issues that need done. And you talk about the bridge and stuff like that, but all I, that's kind of just, like you said, is just a hypothetical thing. Sounds like some action needs taken and something.
The
needs done about it.
wastewater, the way you're describing the wastewater issue, it didn't sound like it was as acute as the water issue that you were describing. That was the sense that I got in terms of.
Then I put it out wrong.
That's not the way I received it.
I read
received
it
it
the way
as
around.
They're both equally as
Problem.
So I guess that, but, we can talk about all this. What I propose that I think rather than us trying to solve a problem, or city council trying to solve these complicated problems, this has to go, even if we had the $1.3 million, we wouldn't know what to do with it. So there has,
Wouldn't be enough anyway.
it wouldn't be
so.
enough, but it could be
Yeah.
a start.
So-
The funding, but we have to have professionals come in here and lay this all out.
Absolutely. So I
prioritize stuff.
thought, so getting back to the engineers,
Mhm.
I remember there was discussions about branch engineering. There were not some happy feelings between the last city administrator and them, and then talked about going to Civil West was another one. And I mean, we all had conversations about that and were told about this. And I thought it was this deal to where the city could just go and, get hours from Civil West or branch or whoever. At
We're not
certain
supposed to do
times.
it that way.
Okay.
No, of course.
But it sounds like the city needs to recruit the help of an engineer or some other professional and.
Yes, you need to do an RFP and go out
Yeah.
and get an engineer.
Yeah, we're getting
Absolutely.
there.
I
We're
use
getting
Branch.
So-
You used to use Branch.
Sure.
He had an issue with them as soon as he got here and picked an engineering firm that I really have a problem with.
Okay.
So, based on working at a former engineering, not there, but I used to work for an engineering firm and I don't like their practice or their mission statement. So what you need is an RFP,
Mhm.
whatever engineer you feel is good
Sure.
to pick.
Mhm.
Then for the lift station, they could be immediately tasked to design that, but you're still looking at 9 months.
Mhm.
To
Exactly.
design it, then it would have to go out to bid, but in the process of that, they're gonna give you an engineer's estimate of how that's gonna cost and ideas where to get that money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And city council will pull that trigger and everybody
the-
starts working their
The
parts.
process needs to start.
Right,
And I
And
think there
So the
needs to
key is the
be.
engineer, basically.
Yes.
first, yes.
So is there anything the state of Oregon that could help with? Emergency funds, because this is a real problem, loans, sort of thing?
I don't know.
Normally, I would say yes, but I can't say that in Monroe.
Okay.
Because of how long we've kicked the can down the road.
Not only,
And ticked off the regulators.
and yeah, really pissed off the state
Really?
because the state was getting lied to. Oh yeah, we're working on this, we're doing this, I'm talking to so-and-so, doing this, telling me the same thing, telling the state that. And that's why the state's just starting to fine anymore. And they are pissed.
I have another question, but I'll save it for maybe down the road, but what about the city's SDC fees? How much does the city have?
That's what I was wondering
And how
about,
much of
because
those
isn't
funds can
that
be,
the,
I mean, they're to
They're-
be used for improvements, percentages, correct?
But there's a lot of rules, if I understand. and
Right,
Chuck
I know
can
there's
touch on it.
rules,
They are
Yeah.
used for new infrastructure.
not,
You
not
cannot
upgrading.
replace the asphalt on a road with SDCs to put new asphalt down. You can't rebuild a pump station with SDC funds. It's for new infrastructure. That's the easiest way to look at. There's, yes, lots of rules to SDCs, but that's the way you go. Is there something there? Do you already have this? SDC funds are not available.
so, but let's get back to this idea of an additional line from an additional lift station. Is that new infrastructure?
It could be considered that way.
Okay.
There's an
You
avenue.
put a new lift station and a new line. However, putting again, the new line under the river would be
That's a
very
problem.
difficult.
But, yeah.
Replacing the one that's there is going to be easier.
Did you kind of alluded to potentially using the existing highway bridge as a site to run out?
Well, I think it was
run
just
above.
an easy option.
It was mentioned.
Yeah.
Way back when.
But the problem I see it is now you got to get infrastructure down to it.
Yes,
And
and
that's still going to be.
you have to
hundreds
get
of thousands.
ODOT approval
Saying
and
that you're bringing in ODOT.
and
Yeah,
other
is ODOT
issues.
gonna approve? And
Yeah, because of the.
But we're
age
trying to
of-
find a way of using funds. So
Yeah,
that's my
yeah,
point.
right.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's not a short putt, but it's
Yeah.
still a way to use the funds that we're talking about trying to use.
Because I have a question, because if we had 55 homes in Red Hills, we had another 10 of Surges go in, we had some other homes go in. We collected all those SDC fees. So we can't retroactively use those for improvements for those, because we know now that we're
Underdone.
under capacity from what we're supposed to be doing. So we can't use those funds retroactively since those funds weren't used for anything up to this point.
You can use those funds for improvements. Let's,
Because we're talking 65 homes worth of improvements.
right, so let's take the lift station, for example. There is a percentage cost, since the line going across the river is a 6-inch. And you upsize the capacity, say you replace that to a 10-inch. Using that additional flow to put that pipe across there, you're probably looking at 20% or 25% could be used from SDC funds. There's a formula for that, for upsizing pipe and capacity. If you were to modify the lift station, instead of replacing both pipes or both pumps or upgrading those, you added a third pump and made it a triplex station. The new third pump and controls would be SDC eligible. It's new.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist, again, with capacity. So there's ways to use those funds. It just has to be
Well, and I think that's where
creative
an
through the
engineering
engineer.
firm would have experience in that and
Correct.
have lots of different avenues to
Right.
pursue.
So would we
Mhm.
suggest that kind of criteria be wrapped into this RFP? Who's writing this, by the way?
the city attorney is working on it.
And how did the city attorney get some of these criteria that we're discussing that's an important component to it? How
Well, she's
is
just
the
doing
city
the
attorney
RFP,
capturing
that's all
all of
she's
your
doing.
brain?
She just does the RP and then we give the engineer our issues.
Yeah,
And
you
the
could,
engineer puts the ideas and solutions
The
together.
company's gonna know a lot more about this process than we do.
Exactly.
So
They
we
deal
just
with
need
this
to
all the
get them
time.
going
Yeah,
and
I've
they
dealt
can
with
tell us where
numerous
the funding
RFPs
is, prioritize what has to happen to water treatment, what has to happen. And then we can pick we're playing a role in picking where to spend that money first as we figure out where we get the money.
correct. And when you send out the RFP and she does the front works of that and saying, you have to be a qualified engineer and meet these requirements for the state. You can request, and she could put that in right from the start. But in the document, in the RFP document, you could put, in your RFP, you must explain and show your experience in water treatment plants, wastewater lift station design and engineering. Things like that can go right in there and their RFP will focus on the main issues.
And then you can, the city should be able to choose numerous different engineering firms, local, Salem, Portland, whatever.
As long as we didn't tick them all off too, and they don't even want to bother.
I'm also
Right.
just concerned about really truly identifying the critical people who have the expertise to evaluate those things. So we're tossing a lot of information around here that I'm surprised there's such important bits that are that don't seem to be really captured somewhere
So what,
documented in a.
my
in a
opinion of
clear
what
way.
happened, because the master plans for the water and sewer, you can't do any projects
Mhm.
and add to your system at all if your master plan is older than 20 years old. So everybody has to keep updating. Your plans are 10 and 7, 8.
Somewhat.
I mean, they're not that old and they are this thick and you can read through them and they outline a lot of the issues of what's there. And when you submit a plan for development to move forward or add new infrastructure, the master plan's already been approved by the state. They're gonna go look at this chapter and go, yeah, that was listed in their CIP. So SDCs could be used on that. And yes, that makes sense. So,
What is
because that's
the,
one of the other issues with SDCs, which is tough. But to spend SDC money on new infrastructure, the project must be listed on your CIP, your capital improvement plan. You can't randomly just say, you know, we should just put it on the bike path, make a bike path out of asphalt. If it ain't on the CIP, you ain't spending it legally.
so what is the current balance that the city holds in STC fees?
I think it's 2.5 million.
I
Okay,
think it's a couple million.
Which is, and you can only use a percent, maybe you said maybe 25% of that could be allocated for.
There's a formula based
Yeah.
on how upsizing you do, how much upsizing.
So let's say there's 2.5 million, and let's say it costs 500,000 to get a line across the river, whatever. Where's the rest of that? I mean, and let's say 25% could be SDC fees, where's the rest of that money coming from? Like, I don't know.
And that's what the
how much-
engineer, he was saying the engineer will give us ideas of where.
Yeah,
How
I
to-
mean, right now, the state and federal for grants and loans. And unfortunately, it's not the way it used to be where you had an 80% grant with a
Yeah.
20% loan. That's swapped. You're paying mostly loan. Their interest rates are very low based on currently what's out there for, say, a homeowner.
1 or 2% maybe.
Yes.
No, RUS type stuff used to be like 1%.
Yeah, right
It's
now
pretty
they're
cheap money.
they're a bit higher than that. You're in that low twos, but that's still better than you get in a lot of places. And each one has the state revolving fund loans have an easier payback. The federal runs can give you more money and quicker, but there's requirements with the federal,
Right.
like the VAPA requirements. So that means you're buying everything, Buy America, Better
Yeah,
America, which increases the price,
Yeah.
but so federal versus state is,
So
I'm sorry to interrupt. So I just, one thing I wanted to clarify too, you're talking about the difference between upgrading and new. And you mentioned that those are the two different scenarios to solve our water treatment plant issues, was the upgrade with new components versus having a new system with a new methodology. Right? So is building a new treatment plant with a new methodology, and is that constitute something that is STC eligible?
my first thought is no. But because you're replacing an existing plant,
Mm.
the infrastructure.
Adding to it? I mean, I'm just creating something new.
It is creating something new,
but the old one's gonna go
but
away.
you can't create something new that already exists. For instance, let's go back to a road.
Mhm.
Build a new road.
It has asphalt on it from 70 years ago. You're gonna rip it up, put new asphalt down. That's not SDC eligible because you're replacing that road that still moves the same amount of traffic in the same location. It's not new, it's a replacement. I don't know how they would see the water plant. I don't, because while it's a different style of water plant. Roads are the simplest ones for SDCs for me to
Just
do.
think
So
of
if
it
I
as-
changed my road from asphalt to concrete, it's still not SDC eligible because I'm replacing infrastructure that was already there.
So you would have to make the argument that you need a new water treatment plant due to the pending growth. And then 20% of that new treatment plant could be used.
Part of it could be,
You'd have to argue that's required because of
unfortunately, Monroe wouldn't have a real good argument with that because we're only allowed to pull so much water out of the river. We can still only do 350 gallons a minute.
So Chuck, I had that was my other question. I was kicking down the road. Now it sounds appropriate. The city has to find an alternative source of water, as I understand it.
No,
We can continue to pull from the Long Tom as long as we want.
yes.
We have plenty, that, I think that's the thing that we've identified that,
15 years of
No,
alternative.
but we had it not just from Steve, but that there's plenty of capacity in the river in terms of how much water we can
With the
pull.
new intake, which we had meetings today and discussed the new intake. The city has an irrevocable permit for their CFS that they can pull out of the water, and the Corps has to, at this location, have 30
Supply that
CFS,
water.
has to be there.
Okay.
So they have to supply. And our CFS rate is the max that we can pull out, the max we can send. And the plant runs, a conventional treatment plant to do what this one's doing would probably only run 5 or 6 hours a day, because it wouldn't be back flushing all the
Right.
time like this one is.
Right, right.
So based on that, and you look at a normal treatment plant, once it's getting close to capacity of the treatment plant at about 18 hours a day of solid running, that's when you start really looking at. So there's plenty of capacity in the water.
Okay.
A real treatment plant can make it and make it efficiently
Okay.
for the
Okay.
next
I-
20,
that's not what
30
we
years.
were led to believe that. So now we had meetings about alternative sources or places to put wells and this and that. And
So every
piping
water
in.
system
Yeah.
is encouraged
okay.
to have an interlink with a neighboring city or an alternate water source.
Okay.
We don't necessarily have that in Harrisburg. We have 5 wells. We're drilling another one and we're building 2 treatment plants. So we have one redundant here and a backup on the other side for a main, but we do have water rights to the Willamette. We just don't have anything hooked up to it.
I'm just thinking maybe that was
So-
if that was a need that could be addressed and it might address some of the bad things that are in the water,
It's,
essentially. Because the groundwater's got to be cleaner than Long Tom water.
it's different. I'm not going to say cleaner. It's very different. The
Some
southern
of them had a lot of salt in it around here. or something.
some southern Willamette groundwater is high in dissolved solids. It's high in salt. Lots of iron and manganese, which
Yeah.
creates brown and black water. So, and it's treated different than surface water.
So maybe it's just a sideways shift of what I was thinking.
It's like switching over and just bunting 99% of the baseball game. So it's a different treatment train
Yeah.
to do it. I mentioned years ago that the wells the current wells needed to be hooked to the treatment plant in some way as a backup water source. The plant's not necessarily designed to, and neither would the new one, to remove those dissolved solids and iron or minerals that are entrapped in the southern Willamette water. But it could produce water that does not have bacteria in it out of the wells and chlorinated, and it being able to used in the house if something happened to the Long Tom. But then at that point, it would either have to, go back to the river or be modified to work on groundwater rather than surface water.
So then, just the question then is, the Corps of Engineers removes the drop structure, lowers the water level. Are they still able to provide the 30 CFS?
Yes.
And that's gonna bump up to 50 probably next summer, only because of other lawsuits that are going on. So it's gonna be bumped up to even.
And
more.
we're pulling our CFS for sure. It's like 0.78 or 0.76. But they have to give that to us.
I have a question. You discussed the new intake system, that's inflow at the bottom of the river. Is that the idea of the new intake?
We were
Design.
discussing preliminary design today.
Okay, so based upon your experience, would some of the concern, would that be providing additional filtration or in some way improving the quality of the water by drawing the water from the bottom of the river through the sands and the like?
Get my way, absolutely.
Okay.
But I have to get the Corps to design it the way.
Mhm.
I've been involved in several intakes, and there's sloppy ways to do it and really good ways to do it. And so I gave them some ideas today to kind of lead them in the path of what I'd be looking for. And yes, it would help with some of those organics, but not enough to make the current treatment plant viable. The current treatment plant is really made for about 10 to 20 NTUs of turbidity in the water. That's about all those were really made for. They're used on a relatively clean source in the type of system that was put in. And the river here can be 400, 600, 800. You're getting a plant to try to do what it isn't made to do anyway. So even dropping them in half, we're still not in what the manufacturer says that plant would normally operate under. So
But it would be mitigating it in some.
It would help.
It would help.
Absolutely.
And that in theory is paid for, or it's in process, the design?
So the
as-
Army Corps isn't designing the water intake. That'll be a separate engineering firm that's going to be hired by the Longtime Watershed Council, who specializes in designing and building water intakes. They'll come up with a couple plans. There'll be a lot of coordination between the Army Corps and this separate entity, but the separate entity will design and build the water intake and try to hit those specs that we'd like to see. And that'll be part of decision-making that we can play a role in. So that the Longtime Watershed Council has just put out an RFP for that firm to do the design the water intake system.
And the cost of doing that is not going to hit the city.
cost is all paid for through grants from the Longtime Watershed Council. But I think I'm kind of based on your knowledge and kind of what Tim was saying, we started. It sounds like there's a RFP underway, Mayor, for a engineering firm that can lead the attempt, which is, it should be the same process we do with the Army Corps. You've got to get an entity in here to do a feasibility study of both the wastewater and the water.
Those have already been done.
Okay, so then are we ready for a design phase engineer at this point? Or do we need somebody who can prioritize the steps we need to take? to get-
Well, we need a civil engineer who specializes in infrastructure.
Okay,
And then they'll go through those studies. They will do some of their own research to the engineers checking the previous engineers, because they're not just going to take their word for it. And then they would go into a preliminary design for each of the lift station, or once they bring a couple alternatives, come to city council, say, you want new or upgrade? What do you want to do here? You can do this, this, or this. And the city council will say that and that. And they will take off and bring back preliminary drawings from there.
do they provide a logistical flow, most effective flow of where to invest our monies to meet, to help us move ahead?
Not,
have to try to
not
do
with
all
that part, but you can request that. That would fall to a different specialized engineer, and some engineering firms have those. If your city engineer or your engineer of record has them, they can, while you have the civil and mechanical engineers working on that preconceptual design phase, then you can have your regulatory specialist engineers who are actually going through, okay, this is where you can look at the money, and they bring them both back in. This is how much you're gonna need. This is what this plant's gonna cost. These are your alternatives. And then you can call in a one-stop meeting.
And those people can pull in the expertise they need to answer a question. So not going out for an RFP every time. Once you get an engineering of record, if we need prioritization of the process we have to go through, or help securing funding, those people can be brought in under that contract.
Absolutely, they can. And if this commission runs into a question for an engineer,
Right.
you say, hey, city administrator, we need the city engineer of record come to our next meeting. We have some questions.
Mayor Sheets, are you managing this RFP creation process with the lawyer?
Managing it. All I did was reach out to the city attorney after we had our conversation. Chuck had his conversation with council. We need an engineer of record. We need, unfortunately, as Chuck has already mentioned, that our prior engineer, we let that whole relationship lapse. So we have to start over again.
Did
So
the
I just told
attorney-
the city attorney, we need an RFP and she's gonna help us get that started.
Did they provide a timeline for when? Because
She's working on it right now, but I've got her working on several things, actually. I mean, I can ask her. I can follow up and ask her.
So it seems really critical to keep an eye on that process.
Yeah.
to make sure it's moving
Yeah,
forward.
trying to
But in the
understand who's
meantime,
following
there
up.
seems to be a lot of decisions the planning commission could be doing based on the knowledge we do have right now about needs that people are asking about and requesting right now. A moratorium could answer that question pretty quickly.
Right,
but
and I
there
would
are-
think that there may be a very good opportunity because as Dan mentioned, and the misinformation given to the commission and the board and myself and others that, some of these decisions, some of these idea sessions could be a joint planning city council session that gets the
Absolutely.
minds together and puts everybody on the same page. Here's our list of priorities and
Can
let's,
you give us a little bit more detail about the moratorium in terms of specifics? Does this mean that Surge doesn't do any building at all, or does it mean that they could build homes but just not tie into our utilities until this thing is resolved? What maybe are the boundaries or specifics around what you're describing?
a moratorium is suited and listed out for what
Mhm.
the situation is. Until
What's
you,
your recommendation?
What are you proposing, I guess, is the question.
I would propose that you have no more infrastructure put in the water or sewer at that time, because you have to account, like I mentioned, like properties. You have homeowners properties, so you would have no more infrastructure put in, no more development of more than 3 family dwellings, because all that has to go to the state for review. So if somebody wants to split their lot, they want to put a second home in the areas down here, that would be allowed. But large development, new water lines, new sewer lines, main lines, not until you get, not until you get the lift station for sure. The water plant is another. I'm not Oregon Health Authority. I don't know if they would approve it. My gut feeling, talking to the compliance officer and the regulating official, they're gonna say no. Just because of how unhappy they are with Monroe.
So it sounds like things are happening to get an engineer on record. It sounds like the city needs to really, who makes that decision on, the council, I guess, would make a decision on a moratorium. But I mean, we're talking probably 12, 24 months.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
I know the
that's-
city attorney wants to have a meeting with
I'm just,
we gotta have that preliminary meeting and has some concerns. She wants to talk with Chuck and the planner and myself about.
just knowing engineering processes and construction, I mean, and where to find the funding is probably going to be the
And
biggest conundrum.
that is a huge concern.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, we're talking minimum 12 months. If
Oh,
not
yes.
more,
Yeah.
If not 24 or longer.
Right, I would guess closer to that 24. But yeah, as soon as you have the preliminary engineering, we do a one-stop meeting. And a one-stop meeting is put out kind of like an RFP, but it's done more with the government funding agencies.
Yeah.
And you'll have the representatives from the planning, the city council, Dan, and we'll sit at this table and you'll have USDA sitting
Yeah.
right here.
Mhm.
You'll have the SRF sitting right here. You'll have federal funder sitting right here. And they will sell you this is what we can offer for that project. This is what we can offer 30 years at this percent. And you bring them all into the one-stop meeting at one, and they show where that funding comes from that you might need. They say, we can grant this much if you take this loan with us. They will joggy like a used car.
I just assume there's got to be some sort of federal help with situations like this. I mean, the city can't fail necessarily, you know what I mean?
There is. But normally it would be a failure of not the city's fault. And the city has failed to take action to do this, is the way that the state sees it. So
But if it's a health concern, won't they, at some point, somebody has to step in and manage it? Wouldn't the feds come in and say, all right, we're taking over?
yeah, anything's possible. I don't think it's that.
It's not that drastic yet.
Got to
We
that
can't
yet.
build, but yet it's not bad enough to,
I don't think it's catastrophic for them to step in and take over, more or less.
Okay.
And that's what they would do. They would come in.
Yeah.
They would build a new water plant.
oh yeah.
If we're talking on the water side, they'd go in, they'd build it, and then, and here's the bill,
Mhm, yeah.
and hand it to you. No bond, no property tax, rate hikes. That's the only way to pay for that, and they won't give you the best deal on it.
Yeah.
They're gonna want their money back in 20 years, not 40 years. So, and unfortunately, that happened in Harrisburg.
Really?
2004, the state said, you must increase the size of your wastewater plant. It can't hold, you have overdeveloped. It's having problems. And it went to the voters 3 times and failed every time. And the state
Nobody
came in
wants
and
to
said,
replace it.
okay, well, it's all gonna be user rates, and their rates went from, $10 a month to 50 some odd dollars a month.
So what's the status? We don't have Michael here, but what is Michael communicating right now with Surge and with the other?
Yes.
And then has any of this been communicated to them that that's
He has.
possibly in the works?
He has, yes.
Okay.
And Mayor, what I've sensed is that Michael could use some help from the planning commission to validate which codes he should be following. There's some confusion about what codes, what was passed,
Yeah,
what wasn't
I
passed. So I think that's
definitely-
work that the planning commission could do. is
I mean, he
sit
does
down.
come across some things, but I know we have
Yeah.
some interesting codes that,
Yeah.
if we could help him identify them and.
Yeah.
get
Could
them
those
squared
just
away.
be group emails, group string emails? Could he send emails to the
Everybody.
planning commission with
As long as
questions?
everybody was, and as long as we replied
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
As long as we
Because
don't
then
make
everybody
any,
has
as
the equal.
long as decisions aren't made, that's.
I think
If
it'd be
it's just
helpful.
fact finding and providing input on what we know.
I mean, I think we can definitely arrange to have communication, so there's information
Mhm.
sharing.
I think that'd be
that's fine.
helpful.
I think if we can sit down with Michael and have him bring to us the things that he's concerned about
Mhm.
and that he can't make a decision because it's unclear in our codes, whether
Right,
then we could have a work session where we could work through a lot of those things. And even if it's to adopt Palomas codes, so we can function and we can.
But he's got an understanding of that.
Yeah, and we could allow people to move forward with projects, that would be really helpful. That would just be us adopting
Yeah,
a new set of codes that are clean and,
you talk about moving forward with projects, what projects? Because it sounds like
well, it sounds.
this
like-
issue is number one.
Yeah, but it sounds like there's some, if you know, new infrastructure, but it sounds like if the infrastructure is in place and somebody wants to hook up, and that'd be a much smaller percentage. We're not talking about a new subdivision or new,
If you were adding, a home here and a home there, and, you've more or less already given them that with the
right.
infrastructure there.
Right.
There are hard moratoriums that have been put in place, and some that's just nothing, nothing until we get it fixed. I mean, that's all. Each moratorium is site specific. There's not here's the sheet.
We're talking, I mean, the smallest, we're talking about 30 homes.
Yeah, 30, anything over 3 has to go through state
Right,
design.
And you're saying no.
And it
So
won't get approved.
therefore,
So you can't sign a capacity statement with the state. Well, I don't know who would.
right. I'm not doing it.
Sign a capacity statement saying, oh,
I
yes.
guess I was just,
Absolutely. I take all responsibility that
So
we
it
can
sounds-
do
I
that.
was putting, sorry, earlier, I just want to follow up with and just clarify a question. So if I was a developer and I had these plans that in place for years now because of all the COVID stuff, and they're already laying the groundwork for this. Is it possible at all for them to move projects forward without tying into utilities? Is that
Yeah, but
reasonable?
How
don't-
can somebody do that
I
with,
don't know,
you can't
and
sell.
I
a
don't
home.
think so.
Probably not wise, because that's spending a lot of money not knowing if you're ever gonna.
Yeah, I mean, this process could take years.
Yeah.
I mean, just,
How many lift stations does Harrisburg have?
Trick question. So we are set up a bit like Monroe. We have one main lift station that all the sewage goes to, and then it pumps 7,200 feet out to the treatment plant. And we have another 5 inside the city that pump to that station. But we don't cross a river.
Right.
We're just running down a road.
So we have another lift station south of Dragon too, right? Over Schaefer Creek.
We've got one lift station.
yeah,
Not that I know of.
No,
So
just-
those are all, I have to pump my sewage across the street and they have to pump it across the bridge because there's no flow. There's a pump station
What
down
about
there
a
somewhere.
2-inch line?
Yeah, we're on a 2-inch line.
So
that's all
there's a
pressurized.
pressure step system over there.
Yeah, so that's.
So,
it's not a-
and
it's
Kind of
not
like
the
the
same thing.
library as well. They have a little pressure.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's called a step system. It's not really a lift station per se.
So it wouldn't pay to put in a new lift station somewhere else.
It's possible.
could.
Put a 10-inch here, and then you could always lift station to this site right here. It's seems to be the lowest.
I mean, the engineer would have to check elevations of manholes to see how that would work. I
Sure.
don't see why it wouldn't, but still still gotta get to the other side of the river.
But basically, we're stuck until we got an engineer anyway.
the
So
thing
we could
is,
discuss it till we're
You-
blue in
you
the
need
face,
to-
but till we get an engineer, we're not gonna be able to do anything.
They're gonna recommend the best way to do it, and
I'm just bringing the good news of what we've ran into
You're
in the
so
last
glad.
few months.
Where are we in our agenda?
My whole thing is I just really, really, really want to make sure that moving forward,
Last 3.
after we get this issue, that we have checks and balances in place. So we never, ever, ever
follow through.
have this situation again.
I usually get called in when there's a mess. What really drives me crazy is I was here and I was told it was all, I'm doing this, I'm taking care of this. We don't need you. I got this covered.
Fill
And
your
come to find
tank.
out,
So we're, just to help me understand too, were there like inspections scheduled for you to verify what they were saying? How did that actual dialogue work? How did they deceive you for so long is what my question
It
was.
wasn't they, it was him, but anyway.
Yeah,
I don't understand the question of the specifics.
Same way you
Um,
did it to us.
Checks and
Exactly the
balances.
same way.
Yeah, I offered, say, hey, you need help with this? And he said, no, I got to take care of it. It's already done.
mhm.
So not my job to go check the administrator's work,
He
in another town.
Yeah.
So. I
he
was like,
referenced you a lot as in giving lots of advice.
Oh, well, then,
I checked with Chuck and this is what he
Yep.
said. And I checked with Chuck.
How often
yeah,
did you hear that?
yeah,
Threw you under the bus and you didn't even know it.
I never felt you threw him under the bus. I just was under the impression that you were advising a lot.
Well, at the time, we didn't know he's getting thrown under the bus.
All right, let's move on. So review land use fees, including SSC fees and tap fees. And there was some question about that we've always included.
Where there was, Mark, you can probably talk to this a little better than I can. They should be separate, not together. is my
And they
understanding.
weren't separate. They were,
Yeah, so all of our SDC fees are supposed to include everything. They include all the water, sewer and everything, and they include the tap fees, inspection fees, everything, dropping the meter, which there's nothing in our fees that actually specify dropping the meter or how much the meters cost or any of that.
so
Huh?
we can't be doing that.
it's in your SDC fees.
Yeah, it's all included. It's all under SDC fee. So the tap is included in the.
That's
SDC
illegal.
fee.
You can't do that.
That was my understanding. We're supposed to have them separate, right? That's what you were.
SDCs, when a developer comes in or a homeowner, or anybody wants to put a house, they're putting their house in, they're paying SDC fees for all of the infrastructure already in place, paid for by every other taxpayer to have that available at that property.
Mhm.
Not for the tap and the meter and that's, no, you can't do that.
So do we know what the tap fee should be and what the drop the meter fee should be?
We know what
You can't do it. You do whatever.
we know what Harrisburg and Philomath charge for their tap fees and their meter drops and all that. Dawn does have some prices. I don't have them. I think they've been in one of these packets
I
before.
think it was like $450 for one.
Yeah, but it's all just SDC fees. It's not.
Currently, it's lumped together like that.
So if we know that's illegal, we need to stop that immediately. Yeah.
So we need to fix that.
So who's doing that?
So I'm thinking that we need to run it past commission first, and then, I don't know, does the planning commission need to approve it and then council needs to approve it, or is that
To
just
me,
a
that's-
council
I don't-
thing?
I don't
That's like
think-
city business, not us.
I think Public Works takes care of tap and drop. We just do SDC.
Just thinking that maybe planning commission could recommend and then,
So for a fee schedule,
yeah, for that particular item, yeah.
I'm pretty sure our fee schedule is ran through planning before it goes to council. Michelle would be the one who would know for sure, because we recently updated and went through ours and Dawn asked for ours today, so I showed her where that was at. Because our tap for water, we do our own water taps. We don't want contractors touching our line, not disinfecting properly, creating an issue to public health. So we tap our own. So it's $1,335 for the tap fee. And that is simply for us to tap and bring water to their property from the main line.
Mhm.
We don't drop a meter or anything. That's just for that. Or the actual cost. For instance, if
If it's above and beyond that,
or let's say Umpqua Bank. Main line's on the opposite side of 99. $1,300 is not gonna
wouldn't cover.
cover that when you're cutting into that road and
1335 is the minimum.
yeah, so you're gonna be in that 3,500 range. They would pay that. Say it's an empty lot. They build their building, they're ready for water. Then our meter drop fee is the cost of the meter and iPearl, which you are now using. The radio and the time for an operator to put it in and program it. Because that's how I came up with that fee. This is all the time we have into it. And that's for the new property. Those people request the water, they're paying for this, not any taxpayers or current residents picking up a portion of it because the city's nice and only charging $200 or something.
Yeah, with the subdivision over there, when I came in, it's about a quarter of the way built, and I wouldn't be allowed to go install the meter until the SDCs were paid.
So, and then on the sewer side, we charge a minimal fee and we have certified contractors. They've already came in, they've given their insurance paperwork to us. They've been given our specs that we're gonna do it by this ODOT spec. And we usually go and check one or two when they're first doing it and say, hey, no,
Yeah.
that's not the right insertity. This is what the spec is and doing it. And so anybody who's doing a development like that, the $200 simply to set up the fee and for our inspection of what, and then they can hire any one of these certified contractors to go put it in and they do all the work because I don't have staff to be doing sewer lines all over.
This Harrisburg SDC charges $13,107 per unit. That sound correct?
Yeah.
And then you got all these other fees down past here. Now, the 13,107, that goes in your SDC funds, broke down for,
Water, sewer, transportation.
now, all
parks,
these
storm.
other fees, sewer fees, water fees, you can use that water instantly or that money instantly.
That's cash.
That's cash
That's
money.
income. Yeah.
So this is where we've gone afoul.
Mhm.
That's what
I
it looks
see.
like to me
Yeah.
from what,
Because our SDCs are 20,000.
Not according to this paper.
Yeah, the one she's got here says With the SDCs and the water fees, sewer fees, storm fees, all included in the SDC fees, it's 17.5.
Right, so let's go back down to a bank. You got $3,500 or $4,000 and just moving that water tap across the road. And it's included in these SDCs, you're giving money away.
So we can lower our STC funds and then implement all these other fees to be able to use the money instantaneously as needed, right then.
Your SDC fees,
Right, you're saying that they're, right now, we're tying
We're
tying
up.
money up
Right.
in a way where
Right.
we can't spend it.
It-
Right.
yeah, in a nasty balloon with paint and oil and everything else you want to throw in there. It's really bad. I don't know if you can lower your SDC fees. SDC fees are based on the master plans.
Oh,
The master plans and the SDCs are created by that CIP that I talked about. So whatever your capital improvement plan is, that's what bases on the future of what you're gonna need for your development to give you what that SDC fee is for each of the 5 categories.
So we need to look at our master plan, what the current STC charges are, because it might be 17,000.
It might be.
Yeah,
Here's,
we just-
I know for a fact that this is wrong.
And,
This is wrong.
and, and if the master plans, and I don't know, I didn't look all the way through the appendixes on there. If the master plan were cheaped when they were done and said, yeah, no, we don't want a CIP done, there will be no SDC methodology in that. But your engineer of record can make that off existing master plan and say, this is what is really done. Come to the council, and the planning commission say, these are the projects we want to do. We want to redo Orchard and Main and Commercial, and they do each one of those separately and come up with SDC. How you come up with your SDCs varies by every city everywhere, or every
Fred,
engineering
didn't
firm.
we just did that with us like a year ago, right? A year and a half ago.
Yeah, we
went
upped it
through
to
the
20,000.
process. We looked, yeah. So
It was
looked
a,
at-
we looked at a survey of the,
Yeah, like all
try to
those
be in the middle.
constables.
Yeah.
And
We kind of
these
picked somewhere in the
categories were
middle.
not created,
Right.
so we couldn't move money into categories. So we went through that process, of creating these categories, reviewing the fees around, and then
How'd you come up with the fees for each category?
that was the process. We looked at what other cities were doing and,
think it was
but
just the overall.
the tap fees are not part of that process at
No.
all. They were
No.
totally excluded.
No.
They were not included in our. system
Well,
development
there is
fees.
none.
Huh?
There is none, is there?
Well, they are.
I don't think so.
There needs to be created.
I don't think technically there is a tap fee or anything. I'll have to
Yeah,
look
I've
again. I'll have
never
to talk to
heard it mentioned.
Don, but yeah, the way in March, when all this stuff started getting looked at, Don brought this up and just said, basically, it looked like all the tap fees and everything were included in the SDC fees.
Was-
We weren't allowed to connect or do anything until the SDC fees were
So
paid.
that's what it, and it sounds to me, that's the second time you said that it occurs to me that perhaps one of the strategies was to get people who were not paying their SDC fees to say, you really can't move forward until you, and it's all wrapped together. So that,
And we're still letting people connect to our system without any fees.
That's going
And
back.
in sanitary ways, like he's talking, you could put all kinds of crap in your water system by somebody else who doesn't care.
So
So that's
we
the
need a
tap fee?
recommendation from us to.
Those are
on
inspection
a
fees.
Fee schedule?
A tap inspection.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're just letting anybody tap it, and any contractor, and then you go.
Look at it
inspect
and say yay or nay.
So
Scary,
We get
huh?
comps.
Comps right here.
We've got 2 in the packet.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
We're
wrote it
learning
in the packet,
lots
but I didn't bring
tonight.
the packet.
Oh, here.
Have it handy.
You have another one?
No, but I mean, there's, oh, here's one.
Give him that.
Is it in here too? Yeah, it's on the back of it. Thank you, sir.
so do we, what's our next step to, we have a survey here of different versions. Do we need to make some sort of resolution, Fred?
Well, we need to make a recommendation to
Feasible.
go to the city council.
Picking the dollar amount?
Find out what's happening.
We pick the dollar amount too.
You can do a dollar amount, you can do a range.
You know,
or you can-
and I'm wondering if we shouldn't. I wonder if we shouldn't adopt something similar to Harrisburg's plan here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was,
Especially since we're gonna be working.
Comparable. city,
ours was
right?
recently redone, and your previous administrator was very resistant to do anything that you got from any other town. Had to be different, had to be unique, had to be Monroe. And several times I said, well, you're
Why do we have to
wasting time
reinvent the
reinventing the wheel?
Exactly.
Other people have already done all the research.
The other issue is that we gleaned off other cities.
So I'd never understood that because if you talk to Harrisburg city administrator, who's lived here in Monroe for decades and decades. You need to come to this meeting. This is a funding meeting. This is where we go for the SMAC Alliance for small cities. To go with the advocate who's going to lobby on our behalf for what small cities want. She'll list you out all these places where he should have been and he refused to go.
So just, we went through the SDC fee process a year and a half ago or something. This is tap inspection fees. The only thing that we're missing is a
It's all the other
tap
stuff.
fee.
There's a lot of other,
There's a lot of stuff.
there's a lot
Yeah,
more.
so last month, we talked about a work session. I didn't get it on the schedule. We can certainly get something on the schedule and have a separate work session on that if you guys want.
Well, if we're gonna do one with the city council, if we should, can we do it all together or is that
Totally
inappropriate?
do it all together. That'd probably be just the best way to do it.
Kind of seems like.
So
the
who does
best.
your tap inspections?
Nobody.
That and land use fees and everything else.
I mean, you have a fee for a tap inspection, so you have a Division 4
So-
Public Works inspector that comes in.
It used to be branch engineering, or no, that was just on new.
So
construction.
since I've been here, there's only really been one tap done, and that was up on North Eighth. All the taps in the new subdivision were already done. Nothing's been new built since I've been here.
Well, even them, who inspected those?
Well,
Branch-
That's the question I had when they were putting
No,
all
I
this
think
in.
That
Who's
predates,
inspecting all this
that
stuff?
predates Mark.
I think
Time. All I did was
Oh, I
install
know,
meters.
it's way before your time, but it's just.
It was on you, Tim.
Yeah.
I thought branch engineering. I thought they were coming out and doing some of the developer connections to city infrastructure, branch engineering would do. I'm pretty sure on that.
We had I remember we had some engineering outfit.
And
Did
somewhere
those.
along the
Yeah.
line, there was some ruffled feather somewhere, and that's when it was highly recommended branch engineering get kicked down the road.
Wow.
And that, but.
Right? Am I remembering incorrectly?
You're right, but the reason they were doing inspection, they were doing what they were paid for.
No, yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. but what I'm
Absolutely.
not-
That's
so they were-
exactly it.
They were doing what they were told to do, which was a tap inspection. There's a question about grading driveways and all that, that they weren't doing, which is way beyond what the contract was.
Yeah.
And people got upset because they weren't doing stuff they weren't getting paid for. Not, they could
Because
have
Pat
easily,
Deppa informed us, we're not paying, so why should they be doing it?
right.
Right.
And that's when we went, wait a minute, we didn't know anything
So it
about
could
that.
easily, the city could easily broaden their requirements and pay them more.
It depends on the
But
contract. I
tap
mean, if it's
inspections
a
were being done by
development,
branch.
then the city
Ruffled
engineer would
feathers.
send somebody to do those inspections, but the city engineer is paid by the developer, not the citizens
That's
in
pretty,
town.
yeah, I'm pretty sure the city didn't have staff to be able to go out and do those inspections.
Yeah. No, I just,
If I remember.
I think you're correct, yeah.
I
Would
mean,
be
it really
possible-
should be the city engineer and their staff.
Yeah.
But that would, you'd have to go back and look to see if it happened that way. But those bills from them for all those inspections, those should have been reimbursed to the city from the developer. So your current residents are paying your
Right.
engineering firms.
And they may have, we just don't know.
No, They weren't even done.
Get a work session on the docket.
Yeah, what do you want to include in the work session? You want to do the land use fees and the tap
SDC.
fees and the
And
SDCs?
we also were talking about fees for a pre-app meeting, which
To the
is-
land use fees, yeah.
yeah, and so we
So
should probably
tap
look at all that.
fees.
And I don't know if it would be beneficial to have,
SDC.
I just lost it. What's his name from Paloma? It's not Michael,
Michael.
but not Michael.
Oh,
Oh,
his
you want
boss.
Chris Workman.
Because Chris's knowledge base is pretty high.
Well, do we want our friend from DLCD here too?
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Why
it wouldn't
not?
hurt.
Can I ask?
You don't like that idea?
We can hear more about wetlands.
Well,
Oh,
That-
Patrick will tell you more than that.
Well, yeah, we need to,
yeah.
let's do that. Let's get that. All right.
Stay focused on. getting
Because
stuff
we can
done,
make
less
decisions now,
speechifying.
but we're just now learning this and I don't want to make a knee jerk reaction. I was
Yeah,
making a
just-
knee jerk reaction. Doesn't really,
Right about setting
Addressing it.
fees
yeah.
off the
You're
cuff.
talking work session?
Number one, we don't even know. We need to make sure we know what our SDC fee, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And what our methodology was to come up with those. That should, I think that was in our comp plan, how we came up with that, what methodology was. We
This
need
is
to-
where the minutes would be helpful again.
And then the
I've been
minutes.
looking,
So we need to
I've
find
got
that.
my own file of minutes, but it's not, it doesn't include everything. So we'd have to
We didn't just
figure
pick a random number out of the air.
out- No,
We did some research.
we
and then
spend a
came
lot
up
of
with it,
time
so.
with.
I'd like to talk about the shipping container. What those
I'm
are
gonna
all
go Put one
about.
in your yard. Now that it keeps bringing
You
it
might could do that.
Long as
Just need a level spot.
up. So
There you
on
go.
old business, we've had some folks sit in the audience here, listening to us ramble on forever. If we have any updates on the expedited UGB,
All I know is Michael is working with Patrick at DLCD. I know that. I know connection's been made.
have you guys heard anything else?
Okay.
Last
few
weeks.
Okay.
I know Patrick
What was the latest you heard on what was going on? What was the last communication you had?
The last I heard was that they were supposed to meet and then it never happened and, cause I think Michael was out.
He was sick, yeah.
Yeah, and then Patrick went on holiday to the East Coast and I don't, we haven't heard anything since.
It sounds like we need to
Patrick got
connect
back
again.
3 weeks ago,
Okay.
As to whether they've met or not.
Can we have Michael reach out to them with what a status?
Yep.
We'll get Michael to reach out to you, and give you a status on what's going on.
That would be excellent.
Thanks for being here and
Yeah, absolutely.
putting up with all of our. Have we asked you enough questions yet, Chuck?
Yeah, I get them everywhere I
What,
go.
what do you guys do for remonstrances over in Harrisburg?
We make people sign them
And are they, how long are they good for?
forever.
Well, Chris will help you with that because they're not good forever. He found out.
Well, that's a thing I'd like to know. If they're not good forever.
They
What's the
found out in
point of-
Philomath, they're only good for 4 years.
Uh,
They got tested on it and they lost.
I would bet it's in the way the contract is written. Because we've brought some in from way back recently when we're doing some roads.
And it may be semantics.
That would be a question for Michelle. She deals
Okay.
with the remonstrance stuff.
Because Chris was talking about, he went from doing remonstrances to development agreements, which development agreements don't expire, but remonstrance by
So
state
we
law
do
expire.
development Agreements with anything larger than 3 properties, remonstrance for single family homes.
And that may have been the issue, because they lost in the city of Philomath, the $250,000 that they lost out on. Don't have an issues with, so.
So a corner lot, you wouldn't let them do a remonstrance?
What?
A corner lot where you got a curb gutter sidewalk on both sides,
Right.
would you let them do a remonstrance for one house?
So I think he's asked, so they don't have to put the infrastructure in.
Again, that would probably be that'd be a Michelle.
Michelle?
She-
Okay,
She deals with the remonstrance. She's our planner. She's got,
and each of them they're wrote up a little different or?
yes, there's no standard form. Kind of like SDC methodology.
Hmm.
You need, the state says, make a methodology. They don't tell you what that
Or
methodology
give
is.
you a template or anything.
Yeah, that's what and I think we used the Portland
Yes, you?
PSU, they gave us some guidance, I think is what happened on that. So
Are you thinking of a particular property right now? Is that your question?
Oh, I'm just thinking,
Oh, okay, just in
because there's
general.
been a few of them that's been built. It's on corner lots and it just like,
Mhm.
nothing's done, but
That's a lot more sidewalk and curb and gutter.
I noticed that I don't recall us talking about Mr. Rose's property there on Eighth and Main and the idea of curb and gutter that I
well,
don't.
there was on Main Street,
There is on right, their neighbor just to the east.
because it's already there.
There is sidewalk and curb and gutter,
We'd
right?
have to extend it, I would think.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that was something that was a requirement by their,
I think that's all still in Michael's.
in their
court right
development
now.
plan.
Need Michael for that.
Need the list you mentioned.
Yeah, I need the list.
We need
All right,
Michael
so,
for the next
Unless we have
item.
any other business.
Yeah.
We've got, so it's critical that we just get this,
Work session.
the work session and the attorney gets a letter out that we can get engineer ASAP, because
Kinda
I will
sounds
find
like-
out.
we don't need to keep kicking it and kicking it and kicking it,
No, I agree with you.
because. And so as far as an agenda for the next meeting on July 1st, already.
I know, right?
Holy cow.
Well, it sounds like we have the agenda before us.
Yeah, we have the agenda basically.
The city needs to pull out all the stops and do what they can do for.
I
Maybe
didn't-
that should,
I didn't, by the way, we kind of glossed over. I didn't hear a next steps or a resolution regarding the proposal that he made on the moratorium. But what are we, is it,
Well, we
it's
need-
out there in limbo still, just floating
there
around?
has to be the attorney needs to have a conversation with Chuck and Michael and myself. Because there's a huge process to doing a moratorium
Okay,
and she's got a lot of
I see.
questions. and
Okay,
it
So
sounds
that's
like
the
stay
act-
tuned.
That's where the city's headed. probably.
Yeah.
that's the AR on that. Okay,
So basically, we understand why.
Great.
We just need to, but to that point, we don't want this moratorium to turn into a 5-year if we could make it an 18-month.
And, yeah, and there's other ways. Well, here's the problem. I don't know who would sign this new thing that the requires a capacity statement.
Nobody will.
I don't think they would, so that, and the state won't approve it before going on.
Yeah.
That stops it.
Dead in the water.
Right.
You don't need a water and a sewer. You can't take sewer, you can't develop.
Yeah.
So that would be anything over 3 homes.
Yeah, done.
So, yeah, and it's,
So are other municipalities are running into this then already?
oh, yes. Because of this new form, it used to be the water side is another issue. Water would stop anything if there was an issue. They're like, no, this needs to be taken care of first before we're gonna allow this. But the sewer side, you'd send it in, they'd look at it, they'd make sure it was designed right. And away you go. Then a couple of years ago, they had the land use compatibility study or statement that came from the city saying, yes, they're allowed to build. Then this new compliance forms came saying, what's your design capacity? How much do you have left? And then the I certify that we can handle this. Yeah, this is a new form and people are going, oh crap. Because now whoever signs that on behalf of the city puts the city liable.
At risk.
Yeah,
a
absolutely,
feeling
especially if they
Steve
don't do their homework.
signed it.
Hmm.
And, with this information presented, that makes, the easiest way to sue a city is finding them negligent. So if you're signing a compatibility study with the information you currently have, I think that would be pretty easy for even a bad lawyer to go, yeah, you're negligent, you're a dumbass, so by signing this, so, yeah, that you don't necessarily have to do a moratorium, because you gotta find somebody to be able to sign this, or DEQ's gonna say no anyway. They won't approve it. They will not give approval for development without that statement. So, sure, if you pay the right engineer, maybe. You can, but I don't know.
Want to go down that road.
Let's avoid that.
So, but it's the way I started out digging in a ditch 30 years ago and wanted to be the administrator. I worked myself up through engineering, got to be that big guy, got to be the guy at the top. And went, it was too political. I don't wear a tie. I am not good at, being politically correct. I need to go back to what I do. I need to go back to public works. I mean, I got that job. It took me 3 years to get out of that job to get back to public works. To do that. So I like to be upfront. I do not tell people what they want to hear. I tell them what they need to hear. I tell them the way the facts are. And I think by doing the moratorium, that's what you're doing. You're stating upfront, we have a problem that we are trying to address and fix. Not because we don't want the development. We want it. We just have to have the infrastructure support.
It's not an admission of guilt. It's a statement of,
It's a heads up.
yeah.
By doing it the other way, and you let them go through all the work and
Yeah.
all the design and put stuff in and.
Well, it just
grade
creates,
And everything, and then send it to DEQ for them to say, well, we need a compatibility, like, the capacity statement.
well, yeah.
Well.
Well,
yeah,
now you have
We got nobody who's gonna sign that.
hurt feelings, you got lack of trust. you
Yes,
got-
absolutely. So that's why personally, I think the moratorium is a better upfront. Hey, we're not gonna go try to buy a property there and build because they have a moratorium.
No,
Rather than
moratorium.
just catch them on the backside.
So the city comes up with a moratorium and how does that work? You have a period of time or do you have conditions? These conditions are met or is it a time frame?
Conditions.
Okay.
These
So
conditions
it's
are met,
not,
And then the city council will lift the moratorium.
so that, to your point, you're not locked in for 3 or 5 years.
Right.
on Moratorium, so.
Well, they only last for 6 months at a time, and then you can renew it if you need to.
Yeah, it's just part of it.
It's kind of an
It's
ongoing.
part of the
Yeah.
consent list. I
Right.
mean, it's just.
So I realize we're outside of the public comments, but I had
You're fine.
a question that kind of plays off of that. So if City of Monroe has a moratorium on building, whether it's a de facto moratorium because nobody's going to approve it, or if it's a real one, does that stop you from going forward with the UGB expansion?
I don't think so.
To me, those are, I don't know, they're two separate issues.
That's totally separate. I think we still need that UGB because we need to plan for the future. We got a bump in the road right now that's
Yeah.
a year, 2 year, maybe longer fix. But a project, even if we did the expansion, the developer's gonna take 2 to 3 years to do that. So to get the engineer and all that for, so we can't just,
Those are two separate things.
I mean,
Yeah.
if they're related, I think somebody somewhere along the line to say, no, you can't do this until this is resolved. I think we'll just run into that, but I think I agree. It all just needs to go forward.
Well, I do with developers all the time, it's a multi-year process.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
yeah.
Even permits for going under the long top are gonna take a while. You have to get into this station. It's gonna take a while. to get that.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
you may have a developer that says, hey, I see that this criteria needs to be met, what, are you willing to waive? Or give us STP credit and
Here's a check.
we'll give you money to help you with your,
Absolutely. I
I
mean,
mean-
all that can be worked in deals and, in a perfect world where people have money to waste, you could have a developer come in and say, hey, I'm gonna put 170 homes here and I'm gonna put a lift station with a brand new pipe under the Riverview sewer plant. And I'm giving it to you when we're done. Okay, great. That's the sewer.
good,
pump.
we'll waive all your STC fees. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And then, all your sewer SDC fees.
Right.
And then we're gonna give you $1 million to help with the water plant. Okay, we'll waive the water SDC funds. Well, you got for me on streets now. So, yeah,
Let's
you
make a
can- you
deal.
can- Absolutely, there's ways around it. But people are putting out money to make money.
Exactly.
Their profit's not gonna be as high. There are some that'll do it.
You could look at this as a good thing, knowing that there is a problem, as seen that things are being addressed.
That goes back to what I kind of commented about the trust issue and this and that, is they know, hey, this, instead of just getting strung along. I think there's been too much of that in the past.
Sign with the cost of the fee.
Yeah.
get halfway done and then realize, that's the worst.
Well, you
We
start
came up with
adding
some-
homes and then you have a sewage flowing down the street. Instead of in the pipes, you're gonna have another.
But some things too, takeaways that one thing is just that live document.
I think that's a
I
great
think
idea.
that's a great idea, and I think that can help with some transparency and some.
We gotta have
follow-up.
Michael help us with that.
Anyway. Let's go home and.
Great.